everybody, welcome back to Contenders China. We are now in week 3, so we're officially halfway through the season. This is the time where the teams need to be making their mark. I'm joined today on the desk by Scribe and Kenobi. Guys, first game, T1W versus Lingan Esports. This is the series to watch. Both teams have the same map differential. It's getting to the point where it's like a fight for the top. What effect is it going to have on the winning team today?
I mean, the winning team here is probably going to be at least the second or first best team in the region, depending on which team actually wins. I mean, T1W, very strong favorites from last season. I mean, they were the closest people to beating the big giants at L of Zenith. Lingan on the other side, working from a rebuild, but at the same time, very strong team as well. So I think this is definitely going to decide who gets a better seeding in Group A, but more importantly, I think this is going to be the big litmus test for this group before moving forward.
And I think T1W is definitely really who we're going to be looking out for. This is the team that's kind of touted right now as being that kind of successor to Lucky Futures. And Scribe mentioned it, where they were the closest to beating them. And now they haven't gone through the same roster apocalypse that the rest of the region has. They're relatively the same team, just losing Crystal to Owls. So T1W here should try to make this their match where it's like, okay, we are number one. We're going to, beat Lingan pretty convincingly, I think. And that's really going to be their first test that they've had throughout the entire season.
Well, there's a bit of a style clash between these two teams, right? So can we go into some more detail about that and see like maybe how this is going to have an effect on the matchup that we have today?
I think it's going to be quite interesting to see how these teams really decide to go in. I think Lingan tends to play more standard, definitely a little more into the dive and 2 DPS centric. And I say it's 2 DPS centric because specifically the T1W style has been to load up on DPS heroes, especially in control maps, and try to use that to kind of sway the floors. We have seen them definitely run quad DPS if possible. Silver plays a great Doomfist as well, and recently adding Nija adds another layer of that Doomfist flexibility into the lineup. So T1W, if anything, they're definitely the wild cards here. They can play almost anything, and I would say they can play everything pretty well. So they're going to be the ones trying to push the agenda more, put Lingan into very uncomfortable situations and see how they're able to rebound from that.
I think one of the matchups also that we kind of have to look out for is probably Kami versus Molan Rin here. Both of these players love them some Pharah. So Pharah, if we're going to maps like Numbani, we sometimes see it a lot. Root, sometimes you also see that. Just if we see the style of Pharah differentiate between these teams, Molan Rin likes to move a lot with the Pharah, use that moment, use that concussive blast to just move himself around, is very comfortable, whereas Kami plays a little bit more towards the back, a little bit more of a slower style of Pharah, just kind of a barrage and just burst your team down kind of fair. So it's gonna be interesting to see how these two teams clash and which player comes out on top.
Yeah, and I mean, when you see these Pharah matchups, you often see like 2 outcomes come out. Either the Pharahs, they just go at each other, they're doing their own thing, or a team will come out with a hit scan to try and counter. What do you think is the likelihood of seeing either of those things? Do you think they'll both just be stubborn and stay on the Pharah? Or do you think we'll start seeing some Widowmaker get brought out and a bit more kind of mind gamey?
I think this is actually one of those weird lineups, and maybe Kenobi will say the same thing I am, but I'll throw it to you if you're not.
Yeah.
I think this is actually one of those weird lineups where we won't see hit scan as much, just because I think for T1W you have this weird DPS trade-off where you can either have Assassin in who is a Widow specialist, or you can have Nija, and I think most of the cases they'll probably be running Nija on maps where they need the Doomfist. I think Molanran, if he's probably very still confident, he's more than willing to take these matchups, and I'm assuming Kami is as well. I don't think either of them are going to switch to hit scan just because Barrett is stronger against the rest of the lineups, not necessarily looking for a counter to DPS.
And with China, we've kind of seen, and it's rose to prominence a little bit, this idea of like a super McCree, hyper McCree carry composition. I'm not sure if we'll see these from both these teams. It seems a little bit outside of their style, but if the Pharah duel is going that bad for, let's say, Kami, I believe that Lingan would probably be more favored to go towards that kind of super McCree composition, whereas T1W really they need to have Assassin really in the lineup for that to be possible. If they're running Micha and Molan Ren, it's very difficult to bring out that hit scan. Maybe this is the point where we see Micha play something that isn't Doomfist. He's played Hanzo a little bit before, but never really gotten into that hit scan role. So if, this might be one of the matches where they force Micha to actually switch to something else.
Well, that's the thing, right, is we always talk about Micha being this incredible Doomfist. I think Volamel likes to describe him as playing like a tank, but what will happen if we see him having to get forced onto something else? Is it going to end up being a weak spot because he hasn't got as much practice or isn't so used to playing other heroes? Or do you think, secretly he's amazing at everything?
I mean, it'd be cool if he's like secretly amazing at everything. He comes out, he's like, oh, I'm not just a Doomfist player. I have some other tools that I've just kept hidden. We saw him, like I mentioned, come out on the Hanzo before, and it looks all right. the thing is, nothing really compares to his Doomfist. His Doomfist, just the way he played it back when he was just, you know, in Ambitious Immortals, it just looks so good compared to like how others he plays something else. And having that Doomfist ability is just so good. And they can bring in Assassins sometimes. I think that's just Assassin's one of those people who kind of got left last season on the bench more so than often, and now has come into his role really as a hit scan. So I think they don't really need Micha to switch off, but if it comes to that decision, hopefully Micha can actually step up to the task on something else.
This is one of the teams that will probably not really be impacted so much if he does end up being a one trick, just because, you know, we talked about how this is kind of the style that T1W really likes playing, this all in kind of let's hold these choke points extremely hard, let's make it very difficult and very costly for you to get into the point, and then we take the fights from there. So I would like to say that T1W probably, even if they do have these weaknesses, are probably going to be looking to play around them very strongly. I think that adding this extra depth of, even if they do kind of force themselves into a triple DPS composition or a Doomfist specific composition, they are a team that's going to be willing to play that through. And I think that kind of determination is going to be very difficult for teams who are not flexible, who do not have the ability to switch off something that can counter it.
Well, the kind of limit test that we've seen so far is both teams have played Laboratory, but LGE's win was actually more convincing. Do you think going into our first map, which we now know is going to be Lijiang Tower, do you think that's going to give LGE the edge?
To be fair, T1W kind of messed around a little bit in their matchup and bring out, you know, this quad DPS, and it wasn't really the same T1W. They're kind of just like, you know, so we already won the series. It was 3-0. We were going to, you know, 4-0, 3-1, doesn't matter to us. So I think that's really kind of how we look at that. And, you know, that's how I see it.
Well, we'll be heading into Lijiang Tower, so we've got Blank and Richrad on call, ready to take us through the map. Let's go.
Hello and welcome. Yes, we are going to get this underway. And again, as the desk said, it is going to be an intense first match that we are having between these two. And this, I feel, this first match on Lijiang is really going to allow us to see how the morale is going to shift between the two teams for who does claim victory on this first match. Don't you think, Blank?
Absolutely. I think both of these teams here are really quite at the top of the rankings, right? And this is the first kind of matchup we've seen where you've had a couple of matches before that have been a little bit scrappy here and there, but now you got T1W versus Lingan Esports. I mean, this is a match to really look out for, because I think either of these teams can take it, but it's going to be very telling of how the rest of the season goes, whoever takes this map in particular.
Agreed. And again, with us first being on center right now, you're going to see them have an interesting composition again, seeing that triple composition. Looks like on both sides, so we'll have that GOATS alteration composition here as you see them try to take this high ground here. See the one winner here going to be able to go to T1W, doing a great job already in the back, trying to harass, able to get that early pick here with Molly getting it to start it off. One down, now another, and there's that snowball effect that we do sometimes see when it comes to this GOAT composition, that they can just dominate on the initial pressure.
And this is really bad for T1W here, because they play the Reinhardt composition of 3-3, whereas Lingan Esports, they throw the Winston in. Now, Winston is very good at taking space. Of course, he didn't have to close with the Earth Shatter, but playing into that Reinhardt composition is very difficult for him, because how does he dive that? They play as a clump, and when T1W loses that fight, it just put Lingan Esports in a really good spot now for taking this next fight, because they've got positional advantage. They have all the ultimates coming up online, so if anything, Lingan Esports, they have to take this one as well.
And you see the split coming out by T1W, though they're not completely grouped right now, being separated onto both sides. It's going to be an early pick here coming on to Molan as they get the follow-up here even further. Molly going to have the Transcendence. They're generating these ultimates very quickly, not having as many on the side of T1W as Lingan is just really dominating right now.
It's tough for T1W because they want to get in. They want to have an eco fight here. They want to build up towards some ultimates of their own. Luckily, Cammy's not had the most amount of success so far. And even though Micha has been losing these fights, he's been having kind of good ones for himself. He's at 95% here. And if anything, getting this Graviton online early for T1W is going to be crucial.
And the rally now to initiate on the side of Lingan, getting into the back, helping with a lot of support as they have the Graviton now on the return side by T1W. Starting to pull them in as well, coming out by Lingan, getting one here onto Silver 3, taking them down with a return. Transcendence still going to come out though on the side of Lingan, giving some great support, but the self-destruct going to completely dominate over them with T1W landing it perfectly on the support and the tank. Sound barrier not going to come out though on Lingan, trying to give again that little bit of a pressure back on this point at 77%. This is the chance where they're not going to be able to really waver from this point, since it will quickly climb, and that maybe just give T1W one last opportunity here, but they've managed to turn it back around. 87% here for the side of Lingan, as it will now switch to T1W.
I know you might think it's a bit of an overinvestment there to invest the Earthshadow towards the end, but what it does is it closes out the fight very quickly for them. There's no sign of a recontest coming through, and that 87% on the clock's really important for T1W if they are to hold, because if a flip does come through, it gives them the time they need to recontest.
And they look to try and get an early pin for that pick, but wasn't able to do so. Needed to be careful as they start to penetrate through. Lingan getting a great advance right now, but the sound barrier is going to come out by illusion, giving some assistance for T1W as they're starting to dominate now on this choke point, forcing them back. Molly getting one, but again, too many have already been picked off that you're going to see Lingan start to fall back, try and regroup, and there's going to be another pick as well as they're going to now start to look to retreat back to that choke point again for T1W and hopefully get some more percentage here.
No, this is nice, actually. I'm liking the fact that they're not stacking on ultimates. They know they can afford to use this sound barrier early now that IDudu's only just switched over to the Reinhardt. So they have time whilst waiting for him to get his own Earthshadow here. Now invested straight into the wall. What a grab!
And pull so many together. They have the damage to completely follow it up. Another self-destruct here to eliminate that team as they're just going to now be at just under 60% and still climbing. There's a nice staggered kill again with the bash on the way back, just completely getting them one after another, as now it's going to be, again, Lingan on their back foot. They have 3 ultimates going into this, though, versus T1W using all of them and hopefully going to have Silver 3 to get that Earthshatter back up in time.
Yeah, they've expended a lot of ultimates here, so Silver has to come down to raw just gameplay right here. He needs to make a big play with this Earthshadow. Luckily, they do have the armor coming into this one, but so do Lingan Esports. They don't have the Graviton as of yet, so they will be looking at Earthshadow to open this one up.
And they might find the window, and there it is. Shield not going to come up. They do get 3 in the back just behind the shield, trying to still apply pressure. Duck having that self-destruct as well that they might want to use here to try and turn it immediately back around. At 93%, managing to do it. You see T1W, though, still surviving through it. Self-destruct going to be now unleashed overhead with the Graviton onto the center pillar. Not going to gain as much out of it, but the self-destruct does manage to get 1. Turning it back over now at 90% to 99 as Lijiang now has the opportunity to take this back.
T1W have to make a quick re-engage there, which they do. Zenyatta drops the Transcendence to keep them a little bit longer.
And they're going to try and maintain this high ground by T1W here again. 99 to 99 is now the Graviton comes out. Can they follow it up? Here's going to be the self-destruct, seeing if they can clear the last few members, managing to get it as T1W is looking to clear the last final members after the DMEC pushing Duck away. And it's only really last time here for them to get back into it. Lingan, though, not going to be able to make it in time. The Earthshatter securing that prevention for overtime as they claim the first round in City Center.
This is so smart. I love the way T1W plays. They stick to their guns. They know the Reinhardt composition just comes out on top of Winston. And by that time, Silver's already lapped on his Earthshatter generation, right? And it all comes back down to that one fight at 87%, where he invests the Earthshatter at the end of the fight to close it out early so they do not get the 99%. And there would have been no way for them to make a contest there if it had gone to 99%. And even if they did, it would have been rushed and potentially lose a member early. So it's very, very smart from T1W, and I think they completely deserve to win Control Center there. Now we're going over to Gardens, which enables a little more different place. You are going to see Cammy on that Pharah. Mola and Ren still remaining on that Brigitte, though, so they're more wanting to stay on this Winston Zarya composition and more threaten the backline.
And, you know, as we've also said, too, a little bit on the desk and with some other discussion that Kami on the far is a sight to see right now and how they're going to look to try and contest against us going into this very open space using that high ground positioning. 15 seconds until the control point does become active, trying to be very careful as you do see Lingan already getting onto the point and maximizing their positioning. And there's an early pick as well. Going to force back T1W getting the short end of the stick right now as they are most likely going to have Lingan able to get this point already.
Yeah, it's just strange. It's a weird pick on Molanran. Not sure why he's there in the first place. You understand why T1W are holding Bland because they don't want to give any more damage over the Pharah as you're moving towards the point, so they just wait until it opens up. But losing Molanran at that point is just a dire mistake on their side. So now they go for the engage. Molly taking the brunt of it for the time being.
And you see them try to aggress in the back, finally getting that support pick on Molly. But again, they are looking to turn it back around. Lingan trying to keep an even score right now. Duck getting another pick here again. Nice job at already 22%. The scrap, the fighting just outside of this control point, just continuing here as they're just looking to try and clean up again. And T1W, they're not really having the advantage at the start of these fights. Hopefully they'll be able to really reposition themselves and find the opportunity to turn it around as they did in the previous match.
Yeah, I'm going to give it to Cammy here, though. Like, as you see the T1W come in, he's softening them all up, making them a real easy target to dive on. With iDoodoo on this hamster, with Duck on the Diva as well, that's a serious amount of damage that comes through, because obviously you get the pile driver in as well as the micro rockets. It's very tough to deal with. Now there's a barrage online. This is probably a lost fight for T1W if they can't make something work.
And it's unleashed, but there is a defense matrix for it coming out here on the side of T1W, able to mitigate it with the Transcend. It's going to be forced as well by Lingan. Primal Rage though by Silver 3, seeing if they can get some harass in the back, looking to take out these supports and force them away from the control points so they can try and manage to take it for themselves. Still getting a lot of harass though with Doodoo on that Wrecking Ball, maintaining position on the point, as well as Silver looking to get that follow-up here after the DMAC, forcing them away at 73% here, just about to be 75 as they're maybe about to turn it. And this is kind of like what we just saw earlier on center. You know, they had it for the majority of the fight, T1W claiming the point, and now gonna have the momentum and the stride into this to try and counter Lingan.
Yeah, because now they got positional advantage. It's much harder for a Fire to attack a point than it is for it to defend it, because she has to make these weird loops over the top. But there will be a grab invest early over here to take Shwabi out of the fight. And that's just going to be sending Lingan Esports back a little bit. So 20% accrued already. T1W, they will be coming on a rally as well, so they'll be able to get a bit of extra armor online. But what I'm really liking from this team is the way that they use ult. Let's go back to the last fight. The Diva Matrix comes through, mitigates the majority of the damage from the barrage. Transcendence comes out midway through to just save them through after it and get the extra aggression on top. It's really well played. A lovely projected barrier to keep Molan alive in this fight.
Shwabi now going to go down by the early bash coming out by Molan Ren on that side of T1W. And again, another cleanup. They consistently are staggering these ultimates, allowing themselves to maintain pressure, but not overcommit to it, preventing this engage by Lingan and allowing them to sustain this and still generating just over 50% now.
You see Molan Akami in the sky there. He's so high up. They're not really going to be touching him anytime soon. So you go for Molly instead here to try and force a trance early, but Sylvie's been forced in an unfavorable position.
Primal range now available for Silver, again just trying to generate these ults as they consistently force them back. And again, Kami with this aggression coming out by T1W, pushing into these tight choke point positions, using that aggressive nature is not really giving as much window of an opportunity for Kami to rain down damage, because they're just so far pressed ahead, as you saw how high they were on that backline position with no real shots.
And now there is a contest from behind. It's going to force the T1W away from that positional advantage. They have to remove themselves from this choke point. But Micha ain't stopping anytime soon, and he will have the Graviton up. 91%. This is looking bad for Lingan Esports. They might just lose it here and now.
And the self-destruct going to be tucked just overhead. Not going to gain anything. Getting stuck on the roof section there as they look to have the Graviton still for T1W, trying to find the opportunity. But they managed to turn it around. It will be Lingan having the opportunity to switch it at 82% against 99. Managing to now regroup here on the point. You see T1W now going to use the Graviton, at least claiming one. Shwabi not able to get out of that positioning to survive through the damage, as Minefield is also going to come out here by Doodoo, seeing if they can try and contest by a few more seconds so that they can get the rest of the team on the point to give some assistance as the fight still continues with the self-destruct landing outside, but again, not really gaining much here. T1W trying to just get that last few picks so that they can get them out of this fight, as Kami now switching onto the Doomfist again, trying to get back to this point as quickly as possible, turning it back over 99 to 99. Last chance for them to maybe keep this going, as now the support starts to penetrate onto this point. Sound barrier coming out by both sides from T1W and Lingan as they want to just keep this fight going. Remaining in the back line, still looking to get the pick, trying to harass on the outer side. Now having the Wrecking Ball once again, getting that pile drive to knock them up in the back line, but really not having any damage to really consistently pick them off, as it is just one after another. T1W finally able to hold through. And again, we see it now, the first round and the second round, claiming victory on Lijiang, that they are able to just fall back. They're being dominated. They switch now onto that point, claim a number of ultimates, and just hold Lingan back entirely.
It's impressive to see, absolutely. I think T1W, although it looked kind of close in terms of percentage, I think T1W were in control the entire time there, Rich.
They really were. And again, we're going to see how this morale boost for T1W is going to transition into the next round after we take a short break right now. Welcome back, everybody, as we are about to get into our next match, which is actually going to be on Hollywood. And again, we saw T1W claim victory already on Lijiang, so they have that morale boost right now. How do you think Lingan is going to have to try and reevaluate this going into this match of Hollywood right now, Blank, to really try and, you know, turn it around here for themselves?
I think LGE saw them on a night market, right? They were, I said the Gardens at the beginning. I saw the dive. I was like, it's definitely Gardens, right? But it was night market, and they try force this Pharah composition without the pocket and the sky, right? And I think the reason they've gone to Hollywood here is because it opens a few things up for them. As you do see already, they are trying to force a little bit more DPS. I don't know if you see it on your screen yet, but Shwebi on the May, probably not going to come out with that one, but Cammy, I believe Hanzo, it's not unpredictable, right? Because you've got that shield break potential. A lot of teams running Orisa Torbjorn sometimes on this map now, or Orisa Junkrat. You need that Hanzo to just really get that full shield break through, so when they get to the point, they can make a consistent and easy dive on the high ground without being pushed back almost immediately. Instead, they're going to have to go against free composition coming out from T1W here. And again, I think a lot of this is about shutting Michia down early, because the amount of charge this man provides early on is just insane. Like, he was losing all the fights, yet almost lapped basically Cammy on this Zarya. Sorry, Shwebi on the Zarya.
And you're going to see an immediate switch. They started to investigate what the composition was coming out by T1W, wanting to reevaluate it themselves and going to practically mirror right now. Yes, indeed, mirror that matchup in this.
Yeah, they don't decide to go with the DPS, right? They're running straight into T1W. They've got a Brigida. It's going to be absolutely horrendous for them. But again, T1W showing them how it's done.
And they now start to force them back again. T1W having that dominant early pick here, allowing them to get the staggers, now retreating them back to their spawn point with 3 minutes to go, already generating quite a bit of ult charge as well. Soon to have the rally coming out by Molin Ren, and even close to getting that Transcendence here as well.
Yeah, this is just two teams headbutting at the moment. Like, there's not much they can really do here. And I thought this would be a much more DPS heavy kind of matchup, but it seems that both teams really do respect each other and know they'll probably get shut down almost very early. Silver gets bashed but doesn't go down.
And they're going to get some pressure again on the front, trying to contest against it as they want to get this high amount of energy coming out by Shwebi, doing a great job starting to force them back. But again, T1W finding the pick early onto Molly, taking them down even further onto Dude, and they just are consistently dominating right now. And even though they're going to have some ult economy on Lingan, you see T1W still just generating more and getting value out of the fights. They're just playing it more effectively right now.
Yeah, I mean, T1W, they show they have the ult economy advantage here. They also have the armor advantage, which just means the small arms fire coming out from D.Va, as well as the low damage when you have a low damaging Zarya is going to be a bit lower versus them. Silver will have a nerf shadow here, and there's not one to combo from Lingan Esports as of yet. Cammy pops the rally.
Oh, and the Graviton's going to pull them into the wall, trying to see if they can get the opportunity for the pin. There it is in the back, forcing the self-destruct, which they are not going to want, as they do get a Graviton in return, though. Lingan trying to turn this back and managing to do so. They actually now have the numbers advantage against the T1W and completely force them away, regardless of that impact that they had, getting the self-destruct out of the way with an entire team kill now.
That's just unfortunate in my opinion. You see IB's actually used his ulti there, and I think what was meant to happen was Silver was meant to basically charge the enemy Reinhardt on Idudu here. Once he's out the way, you have free reign for your own self-destruct. Unfortunately, instead he goes for the D.Va. She self-destructs, gets a quick remake whilst he has to hold up his shield. He's not able to support his backline. And so he's just all over from there, right? The Graviton gets full effect. So Lingan Esports will take this just from a clear mistake coming out from Silver here.
Now they try to force them back again, and this choke point doing a great job starting to fall back, but again, they just cannot withstand the incoming damage. You see them immediately forcing them back to their spawn, and once again, it's like they have the coordination, they fall back, and then they lose it all over again through the momentum.
That's a really nice second of this. Charge actually pushes him back. He makes sure not to hit him, but just like get him with the pauldrons there to move him forward. So it's pretty nice. I like that. Again, Silver with the Earth Shadow online. He's been pretty successful with his Earth Shadows so far, but again, a lot of it comes down to Molan, man. I really like the way he's been playing. We saw this yesterday, saw some more aggressive Brigitas, and they can really change the tide of a fight.
And you might see the Earthshatter coming out, trying to find that opportunity, and there it is, knocking down 5 members, I believe, with the Transcendence, though, coming into the back by Molly, able to give some assistance to try and survive through the incoming damage by the team of T1W. Still looking to force them back, though. They have the advantage. You do see Molin Ren going down, though, by Dudu from Lingan, but you really have to be careful. They're still not out of the fight just yet, with a now immediate follow by T1W consistently just finding their space between Lingan and themselves and just maximizing their offense.
They're just battering on them at the moment. Like, sure, you get the first cap at a mistake from Silver, but he immediately brings this back online as Cammy pops the rally, and Silver's like, no, you're going into a wall now and you're getting crushed, so that's completely getting cancelled, so they won't have the armor here. And again, Molin Ren can just do Molin Ren things.
And there's the Graviton again, trying to isolate them away. Self-destruct as insurance, even though they already had the damage coming out. And another entire team kill here with just over 2 minutes to go now for Lingan to really try and evaluate how they want to go about doing this moving forward.
LG, they've got a couple of ultimates online now, 4 to be precise. They will have that bigger bang combination, which is why you see T1W backing off. They don't have Silver, they don't have the Earthshadow, so they have to get a better positional advantage. Again, it's down to Silver with this Earthshadow to make some plays, and undoubtedly it's going to happen, right?
And there it is, just on the right-hand side. But again, having the Transcendence to try and give some assistance by Molly with the self-destruct coming out by Lingan Esports as they still are starting to keep this momentum. They've managed to survive through it once again, and that's a great play coming out by Molly, sustaining it and having that Transcendence ready for every Earthshatter, now allowing them to maneuver through this payload.
And this is something I actually saw yesterday, Rich, is where teams, they have a set play they want to do. They want to do the bigger bang combination. So they use the grab, and they're going to use the self-destruct afterwards, regardless of what happens. Here, LGE, they only use the Earthshatter and the self-destruct giant. Shreby's like, okay, I can hang on to this Graviton to make the push on through. T1W is going to be down to high B to make some big plays there, to eat this Graviton as it comes through, but he knocks it straight onto the payload.
And they do pull a handful, about 5 members onto it, with now the Transcendence in return, though, coming out by Wuya on T1W, starting to force them back, getting a nice bash by Molin Ren onto Kami as they are having the dominant position. You see the aggression with a high amount of energy by the Zarya as Molin Ren also looks for that bash opportunity and has the rally now. They're looking to continue pressuring them away and gonna hold on to not only the rally, but with the self-destruct and now having the Earthshatter for another engage.
This is so well played from T1W right now, Rich. I am really impressed by what I'm seeing. 24 seconds left on the clock. There is only one more engagement left, the remaining for Lingan Esports, and they've got to go against a rally. They've got to go against a Graviton coming online. Everything else, another Earthshatter invested.
And they only get one, though, with it. Not as much, but they still have the self-destruct, trying to find that opportunity here, starting to get tucked into the corner, having a difficult time trying to survive through it. Now you're going to get Kami getting an early pick here onto Molin Ren. Not going to have that rally fully as they do start to pressure them away. Kami getting another, now starting to ambush onto the payload, gaining a lot of value here as they are picking them off one by one as the overtime is going to become active, and they are going to look to push to this checkpoint. But again, the overtime is going to run out quickly the longer they're on this payload.
Shwebby knows he has to hold the Graviton, keep going. Michia didn't use it last round. They didn't use the self-destruct either, so there's potential to recontest it. It's all down to Illusion to touch the point, but Graviton comes out early, but one slips through.
And hitting just behind the corner, at least getting one. But yes, as you said, sneaking around the outside, managing to get it, though, with Duck using the self-destruct, reaching the checkpoint, now gaining 1 minute and 30 seconds to try and complete this map.
And that's some serious discipline coming out of Shwebby there. He knows he has to hold on this Graviton, doesn't use it for 2 fights running, understanding that if they do win this now, they absolutely have to have it for the recontest. So he has to prevent them from getting that Graviton down, getting that self-destruct out. And really all that's happened here is from this play, T1W's ult economy is starting to become a little bit stale as they've not really used anything. 1 minute on the clock, and regardless, coming from point A, that's pretty painful.
Michia having that Graviton, waiting to see if they're going to try and use it, wanting to probably hold back onto it as they're also going to get the sound barrier, still applying a lot of pressure, but no real energy charge coming up by Michia as they have to fall back slightly, wanting to see how the play is going to be. Holding up front, though, is Silver 3 getting very low, almost getting picked off as they try to regroup. The Earthshatter going to come out, but not gaining too much here for T1W as LGE is going to start pressuring forward again, now having the Transcendence activated. Yes, Molly not going to have it, so that was a great pick. But Brig having the rally, though, for LGE, maybe going to use it for their side. Once again, just having this consistent brawl right now, finally going in favor of T1W with the self-destruct and the follow-up by Silver 3.
They have to get a serious stagger on Duck here. So, yeah, he's not going to res up until about 3 seconds left on the clock here. So it's going to be down to a lot of these players on Lingan Esports get back onto it. But what a pick off from Wire!
Oh goodness, and they may not be able to have enough coming in here with that pick from Wuya as they do reach the overtime, but the numbers advantage is still in favor of T1W. Sound Barrier now going to come out to try and give some protection as they're going to stagger once again, looking to get that backline harassed coming out by the Diva play. Maybe going to have the Transcendence by a few more seconds with the Earth Shatter as the rally is used as well. Both support ultimates to buy as much time as possible with this overtime ticking away. And again, as we saw it already once before, it looks to continue to tick away. Maybe going to get back here as it's just one stagger after another.
Yeah, this is pretty much done now. Just stalls coming out from the rest of Lingan Esports, desperately trying to make something work. They potentially can get the bigger bank combo in, but now investing the self-destruct doesn't look like that's going to happen anymore, Rich.
And that's just going to be it. Once again, that stagger just consistently happening, trying to hold it as they get the Graviton, but really not pulling too much into this. Still happening, and it's really going to go away quickly once they finally get them off. There's the overtime finally ticking away as T1W manages to hold them back.
It's very, very well played from T1W. We're going to give credit to Lingan Esports there. They made some incredible plays, incredible amount of discipline there to get on through. I think that T1W are just playing out of their minds at the moment. Like, you come against T1 versus LGE, and you see this match being like, okay, this is going to go. This is going to be very scrappy. This is going to be like a 3-2 scoreline, right? But so far, T1W is saying otherwise. They've had a very convincing Lijiang tower. Now they come up with the Hollywood, which is LGE's pick, right? And you think that LGE have got this down, yet T1W are just showing them up in all ways possible. They've got this free composition down, and sure, it looks scrappy, but in the midst of it all, a lot of clever stuff are happening. I think I saw an Earth Shadow go down early. Silver wasn't there to back up with the shield, and instead it's Michia who drops down 2 bubbles, which actually block the entirety of the back of the Earth Shadow coming through. So he just saves the entire team with bubbles alone. So it's very well played. T1W know exactly how to play this comp, and LG are just trying to play catch up.
And now, as you said a little bit earlier too, we had the discussion about seeing the Orisa play here on that back high ground, and it looks like we're going to see it coming out on the defensive side by LGE, having that McCree and the Pharah. Not going to stick with that Goats composition, and it looks like they'll still have the 2 supports though moving forward, as it's going to be, you know, that typical 2-2-2 composition with, I guarantee you, T1W going to come out and keep that dominant play as we've seen with the triple-triple.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a massive opportunity for T1W to pull out the Genji here. There is no defensive ultimate on the side of LGE, but let's just see if they continue to stick with this free composition. It's so strange, right? It's like a Chinese team, and like Lingan is like trying to say, oh, we'll play Chinese, we'll play that niche style, and T1W is like, no, we're a Western team now.
And they're going to try and utilize it here. They have the high ground position, though, on Lingan, seeing if they can try and get maybe an early pick again. Having that hit scan and the Pharah dealing a significant amount of damage on Kami, but there comes the dive on the high ground, starting to oppress against that due to Orisa play as they get an even exchange, though. It will be a tank for a support, but now you see T1W starting to get the staggers, picking them off. There's the D-Mech onto Duck with the follow-up onto Mini Diva as they are just continuing to rain damage overhead. Kami really contested right now, but again, it's like they don't even need to worry about it. They've just focused onto the back line on that high ground, left Kami completely alone in the air, and now dominated on this point.
It's an absolute treat to watch this team play. I'm going to tell you now, Rich. Illusion drops down the speed boost. They go straight underneath of Cathay, hold in a very tight position. And versus a Goats composition like that, you do not want to be in close quarters with them. They do not provide enough time for Kami to soften up those targets. They understood how that went on Night Mark, and they completely circumvent it here, meaning that when they do eventually go in, Kami's nowhere near towards that barrage to completely stop this Goats composition out. And now Lingan Esports, they're forced to make wholesale switches off, and their economy is just shattered.
Completely. As they do maneuver forward, you are going to see Molenren having that rally to give some defensive assistance as they pressure forward. And again, this dominant nature just completely pressing Lingan back, not able to survive through any of the assault, as they are just really running this well-oiled triple composition right now.
It is properly well. It's like it's been surfaced very recently. I mean, to be fair, I think the main glue that's holding all this together is Molenren playing this very, I guess, unorthodox style of Brigitte at the moment, where it's very aggressive. And Volumel said this on the desk. Yes, these type of Brigitte is likened to Kib from Overwatch League now in Guangzhou Charge, but it's just so hard to deal with because he's constantly a threat.
And the shield being completely negated. The shield coming up by Silver 3, not allowing Dudu to get that Earth Shatter on any of the members from T1W. Completely nullified. Again, just continuing this momentum. That Earth Shatter could have been amazing for Dudu, but not able to make it because of the quick shield refresh coming out by Silver 3.
Silver's been playing out of his mind. I'm not gonna lie. I think there are times where you'll see Silver and he's not to the best of his ability. Sometimes he looks like the weakest link on the team, but here he's properly showing up right now. He's playing very, very well. I'm very impressed.
And now you're going to see them split off a little bit onto the left-hand side of where the payload is, but they're just, again, separated and staggered right now as they get the pick. Having Molly, again, use that Transcendence to try and give the opportunity for them to hold them back before they reach this checkpoint with just 0.3 meters left to go. But they still have a lot of time in their bank right now, along with 4 ultimates going into this as they get to this next checkpoint.
I love the understanding that's coming out from T1W of this free composition. Lingan Esports, like I was saying earlier, just trying to play catch up at the moment. You see the green box of victory right there, and T1W, if you did perchance look at the left side, they've got pretty much everything online right now. They're very happy to push this one on in. Now Lingan Esports, they have to do something a little bit unconventional. They drop onto the payload early, looking for a pick off here. They don't find it. T1W, they initiate the rally. You can tell an engage is coming in very shortly.
Oh, and they flank from the rear high ground, out of position of Lingan, able to get the Graviton though, coming out by Schwaby. That's the last opportunity, getting the self-destruct with Duck, but only able to get Silver 3. Again, having the opportunity to try and engage this. They do have, again, Hy-Vee with that self-destruct as well. Seeing if they want to fall back, and they look like they're gonna. They're not gonna overcommit to this. They don't want to give the ult charge to them and commit too many members in that fight, allowing them to regroup quickly.
I'm not sure if I'm correct here, but Michia, I think he just used his Graviton. He has another one? What? We'll be coming into this one with an Earth Shatter here, so that will be their closure, but they're going to initiate with the Graviton self-destruct combo. Never mind! He's going to go for it!
And he gets in with the shield knock coming up quickly by Dudu as they do get 4 members knocked down in the back as they are trying to aggressively turn this around. But Dudu managing to get the charge able to follow up here onto Molin Ren, and they are just now completely dominating. And this is an immediate turnaround here for Lingan, with that Earth Shatter taking so many members out though by T1W.
Yeah, but this is the problem now. You drop down this Earth Shatter. Molly's the only one with the Transcendence here, so they drop down this Graviton, and then Silver will be able to build up an Earth Shatter from that afterwards, and even if they do survive, the Earth Shatter is going to be there to close this one out, which means that Lingan Esports, they have to play very sparse. You know Duck is looking for the block on that grab for the time being. The mech goes down, it's free and open for them.
And they're gonna maybe use the Graviton here in the outer right-hand side, managing to pull the entire team in. But the Transcendence gonna come out though by Molly, managing to hold it. Self-destruct though coming in by Hy-Vee, looking to get Kami out of it. They are just a meter away, but there's the Earth Shatter in return, wanting to try to completely shut this team down, managing to do so. Molly gonna pull it back, Schwaby getting the assistance, and they are just completely dominating once again. They were able to get that Earth Shatter back just in time before they reach it with just under 4 meters left to go.
You thought this was over. No. Lingan Esports are still in this one. They will retain their Graviton as well for the next fight. Wyatt sure he's going to have the Transcendence as well as, but there won't be a self-destruct as of yet. Cammy will get the rally mid-fight, which might give them that extra oomph that they need to make it on through, but Silver with the Earth Shatter, he's going to go for it again.
And here's the pivotal Graviton trying to get them, but the Earth Shatter, yes, is going to turn it back around. Transcendence trying to get some assistance here by Wuya on the back, starting to get that momentum. There's the picks that they needed, regardless of the Earth Shatter from the time before. On Lingan, the self-destruct just at the end of it, just going to force them away, and they will manage to claim victory on Hollywood.
Oh, T1W, you monsters. I love it so much. Silver there, he really is the silver lining of his team, right? Because he gets grabbed there, I think it's all over. They're going to get pushed back once again. He drops down the Earth Shatter. It gives them time to restabilize there. They find the picks onto one of the supports, and it's pretty much done afterwards. So very, very well played from this team. I'm utterly impressed.
No, seriously. I mean, that was unbelievable. And again, you saw Lingan doing such a great job, really. I mean, it's not that they're playing badly. It's just you see T1W playing so much more effectively, and it's interesting to see how they're going to look to move forward to this, as we will look to swing it back to our desk so that they can take a little bit deeper dive into how intense that last fight just was.
Guys, I don't think this is going quite how we expected originally. We're seeing a lot of goats come out, and Kenobi, I actually want to quote something that you said right at the beginning of the series was, sometimes they'll just play something they're just not good at, and yet T1W turned out to be pretty good. What are we thinking about their goats?
So T1W, we talked about it before the game started, was kind of this team that didn't really, play goats that much. They were more, hitting up with the dive tanks to put Silver 3 on Winston and High B on Diva, but they came out on this goats composition on Control Center. It didn't look that great because they were down 75% to 0, but then they came back and they were really just playing it very well, holding choke points very aggressively, rotating ultimates very effectively. And Micha, the person who we had thought, is coming in as this like Doomfist just only player, is playing Zarya and is playing it very competently. He's hitting nice gravitons. His bubble management has been good. His tracking has also been good. So shockingly enough, T1W is a goats playing team now, which for the rest of China is probably very, very scary.
Yeah, I mean, do you think that Michia always had it in him? Or is this like something new that now everyone's suddenly got to be like, oh man, we've got to figure out how we're going to deal with this when we come to play T1W?
It's definitely a curveball in like the weirdest sense, right? Like normally having your Doomfist player play something else is not normally a curveball, but in this case it is, because one, you're obviously going to be scared going into this 1v1 control matchup, right? Like let's say you do bring this to other maps that are very Doomfist heavy, you have to worry about Mijai. But I think this is the big adaptation that T1W has been making that's kind of a carryover from last season. Right, they're adapting to the situation here. I think in general, their goats composition is fairly aggressive. I mean, Silver is definitely going in for a lot of these big shatters. He's basically using the ult on cooldown just to generate a little bit of advantage. Really great synergy between him and Hybe to get these like very guaranteed bombs to win these team fights. But besides that, Micha is being put in a really good area where he's the playmaker. I think this is exactly what you want to do if you have a Doomfist player. You don't want to have him playing a very passive Zarya where he's kind of like saving his bubbles, not really doing a lot of damage. He's the one who's up front. He's the one who's baiting these reactions to the other team. He's the one who's getting these pretty aggressive burst shatters. So I think in general, this is something I really want to see him continue playing. I'm honestly props for T1W for activating him like this.
Presumably this isn't something that Lingan were expecting to see. And, they, on Control Center, originally Lingan kept the point first. They took it to about 75% before T1W actually took it back off them. So Lingan have been doing some things right. I mean, let's go into detail a little bit about what Lingan have been doing well, because even though they seem to be getting a little bit overwhelmed a bit later on in the couple of games that we've seen, how is their goals comparing? Because we've been seeing a lot of mirror.
I think it's pretty good. I think their goats composition is playing a little tentative just because I think when they do get the lead, I think Lingan is a type of team that's willing to propel themselves forward, and I think they have the right players to do that in particular. I really like the way that Kami's been adapting. I think his Brig is, honestly a threat. We saw him losing a lot of these early battles in Mulan Run, but as kind of the series has progressed, he's kind of like gotten more comfortable with it. I think he's understanding more of his role as a specific carry player to his team composition. So I really like that. I think the rest of the team, though, I think they just need to understand that, they need to play more aggressive. They need to start, being able to be willing to match T1W in these 1v1 situations, right, 6v6 situations, to be more effective. I think right now they're playing too tentative. They're playing a lot on the back foot. They're waiting for a lot of these reactions. And I think against a team that's as aggressive as T1W, you can't be doing that.
Yeah, and speaking of like aggression, we were talking about Brigitte's a little bit in Molenra, and has shown himself to be very aggressive on Brigitte, kind of the style that Jason on Flag Gaming plays it, where he's just, I've described it as like manly Brigitte, just running in and just not caring about any Reinhardts, not caring about any Zaryas, just going in, having that Discord being planted onto the Reinhardt, and then just hitting them with the flail. And it's kind of shocked, I think, Lingan Esports a little bit, how much damage is actually coming out from that Brigitte and the aggressive style that T1W is playing. And I think Scribe is right, matching that aggressive style. If you're going to match compositions, try and match that style as well.
Scribe, you mentioned Kami just that, and actually on Night Market we did see him come out on the Pharah, but it didn't appear that he was getting the same amount of value on Pharah as he was when we were watching him last week. I think it took him quite a while to get his second barrage, while members of T1W seem to be kind of lapping him on the ultimates. What do you think was going wrong there?
It's kind of the pick into the composition, right? Barrett's not going to get a lot of damage playing into a lot of shields, so inherently, especially if you don't have the pocket with Mercy, like he was playing it into like a Brig Lucio composition, so he's obviously not getting a lot of resources. He can't play super aggressive just because, one, he's probably not getting prioritized sustain on that avenue. So if he's going to be playing for barrage, it's not a great composition. His team needs to be the one going in first, creating these small micro openings, and then Kami can kind of swoop in while no one's really focusing him and get the damage in. So I think it's really compositional differences. I think he's realized that himself, and that's why he's playing a lot more Brig. That's why, even though he initially rode out on the Genji on Hollywood, instantly going back and switching. So that's what I like about Lingan. They understand the matchup, and they're at least playing to that matchup strength. But at the same time, it's kind of putting Kami in a weird position where I think he needs to be more reliable as a carry on break, and he needs to be accepting of his role in doing that.
Okay, well, going into these next 2 games, Lingan, they're going to have to step up a little bit. Who on the team would you like to see the most coming out of in these final 2 matches to bring the most value to the team? Or do you think maybe it's overall a kind of performance anxiety thing?
I think really at this point, I think Scry mentioned it a little bit. I would like to see Kami play a little bit more as the carry role, and it's kind of difficult for Lingan in general. Going back into their history, last season they were very reliant on just having one of those carry potential players, which is that you had Undead, who Undead was basically let's pocket Undead, he's going to carry us. With Kami, it doesn't seem like Kami has just the resources in him that Undead used to have, or the confidence really that he used to have, and just like, okay, I can carry this. I want to see him bring it out, play more aggressive. Also give him avenues to play more aggressive. Give him a mercy if he's playing far and stuff like that. I think that's really how Lingan comes back into this map.
Well, we'll see if that's what happens going into our next match, which will be Hanamura. So we're going to throw it back to our casters to take it away.
Yes, thank you so very much, as we are going to get this underway in Hanamura, going into that short break, seeing if you're going to see, Lingan Esports try to reevaluate how they want to go into this. And, with this map having some verticality, especially on like that open first point, do you think that we'll see that Pharah play again, or are they just going to opt to try and go head-to-head with this triple-triple onto T1W, Blank?
So I think what we've seen so far, at least, you go to Hollywood, you go to Hanamura next. It's very typical to me that it feels like Lingan are just desperately trying to play something that's not GOATs right now. But instead, Lingan seem to be switching straight onto this Winston Zarya composition. So I'm not sure what's happening here. Maybe they're baiting T1W into maybe going for this kind of team composition they have here, which is very centric on picks right now. Because Pharah and Widowmaker, they work so very well together, because even if you get a body shot from a Widowmaker, that can be quickly closed up by a rocket afterwards, or even a direct rocket that could be closed out by a body shot. But I don't think this composition from Lingan Esports is going to get too caught out by a lot of these little picks right now, because this is an all-in composition, and if anything, this Widowmaker is just going to die.
Yes, having that substitute in, coming in on Assassin for the Widowmaker will be interesting to see how effective that's going to be here on this high ground in the back. Trying to get that pressure from the low ground coming out by Lingan Esports, as they do just immediately transition onto the point. And now it seems that Molin Ren not really being able to find the opportunity to get that damage in the back line. They're starting to capitalize on this, already getting almost the first pick here. As they do continue to pressure forward, it will be Duck getting taken out on the D-Max, still trying to get that high ground position. There's the rocket barrage, though, by T1W, starting to capitalize now in return on this point. There's a late kill as well, as we go from Brigitte to Pharah, and managing to do quite a bit of work here.
It just seems like LGE don't understand how to play this composition at the moment. So the way they played it was if they had a Reinhardt in the composition, right? Because they go to a single position, they play stairs, and they hold stairs. This composition is all about moving from play zone to play zone. You can't just go to the point and just expect to hold there of a Winston. You need the Reinhardt, who, if you get close to him, you're more than likely going to take a massive amount of damage. So really what they need to do here is either find the pick onto the Widowmaker early, or find a pick onto one of the supports.
And now they're getting a lot of pick damage coming out by the Pharah play, and they need to be extremely careful as they maneuver to the slow ground, trying to see if they can exploit that high ground position, but having a difficult time, and now going to have to force the Transcendence and try and maneuver onto this point. Seeing Juju use the Primal Rage. Fortify going to come out, though, by Silver 3, trying to maintain the incoming damage with the nice pick here coming out on Lingan. Doing a great job getting that, but a res coming out here by Illusion, able to get them back online. Supercharger going to be taken out as well with Silver 3, as this is now where Lingan is going to be able to maximize on this point, doing a great job of it, getting the picks that they need regardless of the defensive positioning, and T1W going to have to look to hold it back on point B now.
Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to hold on to A for very long, because at any point you can change up your playstyle, and because the spawn is so far away from the defenders, they don't really have an opportunity to switch up their composition depending on what the attackers are playing. Now you come over to point B here, you do see the Assassin make the switch over to the Mei, hoping to split up some of this team. So be down to Lungstar here to go for a bit of a bait, or the Diva herself, but Shanxi's trap has to go for the window, does survive. That's massive. Wall will go down, and the full dive will be able to come through up these stairs.
And they might be able to capitalize on this, but the rocket barrage right in the doorway, seeing if they can get the follow-up onto more than just one. It will be Kami going down by the rockets. Unfortunately, not going to gain too much more with it, but they do get the kill here onto Lengsa, forcing them back and having to regroup.
not too bad. I mean, now we come over to point B. Defender's spawn advantage is just ridiculous, right? Unless you get a clean fight point B, it's very easy to stall this one out. But 5 minutes coming into this one, they've got a good time bank. So they are going back, just waiting for the rest of the team to come back online. They will have the Graviton, they're going to have the Primal Rage. And the way you can actually play is you can send your Winston over to the left-hand side and actually pressure from the left side with Primal Rage, which it looks like they are going to go for that kind of attempt. I'm pretty sure Winston is going over to the left.
And you're going to see them still try to bottle it, but there's the separation with the wall, able to come out to try and divide the team, but the Transcendence is going to be forced again with the self-destruct high overhead by LGE, seeing if they can maybe get the picks out of it, but having such a hard time gaining any value out of this aggression once again on the high ground. Graviton still in the back pocket though for Schwaby, seeing if they can net a number of players though, as the Primal Rage is finally going to fall off here for Silver 3. Starting to drop to the low ground, but getting picked away, and again, they're hoping to have enough damage on this point because again, that respawn advantage is in favor of T1W.
They are just pocketing Silver so hard, and really Lingan Esports is trying to get him out of the way on this entire fight. They're like, we must kill the gorilla, he's a big problem to us. Unfortunately, don't quite seal the deal, and really Cammy walks a little bit too far and gets taken out. T1W looking very healthy when it comes to ult economy, so this could potentially be another 2 minutes shaved off the clock unless Lingan Esports can do something drastic. They can no longer send Winston over to the left side of the map by Coast because he doesn't have the Primal Rage, he cannot survive by himself, but instead they opt to go through main here and underneath, but it looks like T1W, they've got their number.
And they've already separated them with the wall again, and here comes the Rocket Barrage consistently, but just surviving, barely able to displace themselves out of the way as they still have that high ground position, not going to really gain much benefit out of that engage, and just really having a difficult time handling this Mei.
It's tough, yeah, it really is hard to deal with, and you've got to bait out that wall. Push away. Jim was like, please, I'm not getting any ult charges, just end my life, end my suffering. But T1W, I think they've been playing this really, really well, and Lingan Esports, they just seem to be at a loss. I really do think they need to split up their advantage, maybe play some DPS here that can quite thoroughly remove some of these targets like Mola around in the air, because every time as they come through, he is playing this position over and over again, and then he drops down beside the Mega, and they can do nothing about it, and by the time they get onto point, Molaran, he's around at 90% towards his barrage. It's really tough to play against.
And they're going to try this low point once again, getting into that tight position, needing to be careful as, again, as you said, that Rocket Barrage is available, and they're going to retreat out again. They're not going to want to fight this. They know that they're at the disadvantage because Duck has been taken out here early in this fight. They've got almost about 5 ultimates here, though, so hopefully they'll be able to get something out of this, but you see T1W also having 5 ultimates of their own.
Yeah, they're gonna have something available to them, but T1W at the moment, really LGE, all it looks like to them is just DPD drivers just delivering Duracell ult batteries over to T1W at the moment. Transcendence comes through to try and force the engage.
And they look to move up this stairway to see if they can try and get some damage. Self-destruct just underneath. Can they dodge it? No, Schwaby's not going to be able to get out of there quick enough as another stagger comes in, having the 6v5 advantage in favor of T1W. And T1W getting a little low, though, but really no follow-up on the execution. Unable to get the kills, at least, to try and help their numbers. But once again, they're sitting back and having to reset with a minute and 50 seconds.
He just had an absolute clear win condition on them. We're going to drop down the self-destruct. Silver, you pop the primal, knock him into range of the self-destruct. That's exactly what they do. Schwaby's self-barrier runs out, and he just gives him the pause to the face, and he goes flying into the self-destruct range. And you lose your hyper carry there on the Zarya. That's like the majority of your DPS. Once you lose that, you have to back out. So T1W, they've now got another clear win condition. They can drop the Nana boost onto the Winston to give time for Molaran to hit that barrage. Lingan Esports, they really don't have other than the Giganticon.
And this wall coming out again, beautifully placed, getting, I believe, just one member outside of it. Blizzard's still going to be held, though, with the sound barrier in return, though, coming out to try and withstand the rock barrage by Molin Ren on the high ground as they just continue to rain damage. Molly going to get picked off as they are just sitting ducks right now on this high ground, able to at least get the Diva player out of the fight for T1W, but again, the damage has already been done.
They just have to back out, and now what was a 6-minute time bank, Rich, right now it's down to 45 seconds. Poor Lungsa just gets absolutely blown the heck up. Do not want to see that in any of my science class frog dissections. No, sir, please. T1W, however, they're going to come back into this one with another barrage. Like, look at this. The guy, he just comes out the door and he's like, okay, please feed me up, church. Thank you. Thank you. Just give me that 90%. And they will have the Blizzard as well. So despite Lingan Esports making the switch over to the McCree now to try and get some of those cheeky headshots out, he is an immobile hero without Lungsa, right? So they're just going to get completely decimated by a well-placed Blizzard.
And you do see it coming out as you say it. It will be so much domination here with the Pharah rocket barrage overhead. Transcendence trying to survive. Molly doing everything possible. Not going to be able to keep anybody up there on that high ground as it will be Schwaby at least getting one. Not going to touch the point, and that's going to be a hold here on point B.
It's just painful, right? You don't see Lungsa make any effective like attempts to help his team. Like the disengage is not there with the speed boost. You don't see him trying to bait out any of the walls. The sound barriers come in a little bit too late right now. Molly's having to make up for a lot of this aggression with the Transcendence because Lingan Esports just absolutely can't make their way through. And then without a reliable sound barrier to fall back onto, you've pretty much just died to barrages, to blizzards, to anything that T1W throw at you. I don't think there was any decision to make any swaps. They really didn't change anything up, and they just kept getting forward by this Mei wall time and again. I think it's one of those things where you might have to send someone left side, and they went for that first attempt right. They send Idudu over to the left. They send him coast. He hits point, and at that point, T1W, they have to disperse from the high ground, and it gives Lingan Esports a little bit of an advantage there. But they just never go for it again, and I don't understand why they don't do that. They just basically commit themselves to freezing themselves to death, essentially.
And, you know, as you said, too, just to piggyback, not wanting to choose to that switch. They switched to the McCree so late in that fight, and I honestly think if they would have done that even just a couple minutes sooner, that really would have gave them so much more opportunity. Again, it is not as much mobility, but within that last fight, even though it was in the intense crunch moment, they were still able to, I feel, gain more having that McCree switch, at least for the encounter that they had.
No, you're completely right, but they were just running into so many ultimates, right? You could reposition the McCree, but again, that falls down to Lungsa, and if you're not getting the speed boost when you need them, then as a McCree, you're kind of just a dead fish in the water. Now they're going to send Molan ran in on the Sombra. Obviously, he is being scouted. This is a really tough choke to get through a Sombra, but he leaps it.
It does get spotted. Oh, that was so close. If they would have been able to get through there, that would have been a massive. But you now see the aggression coming out by LGE, looking to exploit that backline. Ooh, Wuya able to get picked off as now they're starting to try and just keep some solid defensive positioning here. And T1W is most likely just going to fall back and try and regroup and survive with as many members as possible.
Molan runs very happy. He's like, yeah, please just take a very extended fight because I'm just going to shoot my SMG into you, get 75% towards our own win condition, which could just completely shut you guys down. 80% now. It's only been 50 seconds here, Rich Red. They're coming closer and closer, and I assure you the dive is going to come in as soon as he hits that EMP.
You are very right, Blank, and that's going to be one massive EMP if they're managing to at least get two on the front line. A lot of pressure still happening. The bash coming out as well, though, by Kami, and it is ready. Seeing if they can try and get that backline position potentially through that upper window port. But there's the EMP coming through right down the center, managing to get, I believe, 5 members of the team, even on the high ground, as they're looking to exploit it. Already getting a double kill in favor of Wuya on the Zenyatta play, wanting to get another here. The aggression coming out with that Discord orb. There's the triple, cleaning up quickly as they have 2 minutes and 35 seconds to start claiming this first point.
They just spent so much time within T1W's spawn and just completely ignored Molan. Molan's like, okay, I'll take more DPD deliveries of Duracell ult batteries, thank you very much, LGE. Now T1W, they're going to be running with a rally and practically everything else, and when LGE plays such a mobile composition, EMP just completely shuts them down, and when they're playing Sparklight, it's just so easy.
LGE trying to play aggressive, not allowing them to have this snowball effect. Dude, getting one on for everything. You are right, except for the Primal Rage. They may want to try and hold on to it here to see if they can contest. It will be now the support ultimate coming up, though, on Illusion, hoping to maybe get them out of this in time. And yeah, that was a lot for that push. Unbelievable.
Yeah. I think what they expected there is if they popped everything, then LGE would be forced to pop a couple of ults of their own, but instead LG are very happy to just drop down that rally, hold on with that, and of course Cammy during that long fight gets 50% towards his next one, so I think that's just a misplay from T1W. They popped ultimates early, expecting some kind of retaliation, bit of an eco push there, but here you see the team splitting up now. Winston's going to go tap the point and force them to move away.
And that's a great strategy. They're
count?
looking to get the they're not gonna get
my
the time! Oh my goodness! They were completely oblivious to that backline capture. They needed one tick
Amazing.
to do it. I cannot believe that.
he just dips his toe on. He's like, "Go on, I'll have it. I'll take the point away from you." They're just like, "Oh, we're at Mega right now. Oh no, it's painful.
Like,
it's painful.
I think you were in the same spot with me as we're watching it. We're like, it's going. It's still going. It's right by the arrow, and then they got it, and then we were just like, that just happened. So they are just as surprised as we are.
Where's the frog? Where's the frog in that situation? Has he pressed speed boost already?
And they were in a good spot. They had a decent ultimate economy on the defensive side. They really could have held them back there for a majority of that time.
Were fine.
I assume.
They were absolutely fine. And so in fact, let's break this down even further, right? Lungso was coming up towards the sound barrier, right? And at that moment, you know that Molanran's got the EMP. So obviously, what you're gonna do as Lungso is you're gonna hide on the high ground around the side of the choke. So you make sure you do get that EMP. You do make sure you do get the sound barrier as the EMP comes through. So it should be absolutely in position to touch the point. So it's just a complete misplay.
It really
I don't even think Silver was expecting it. He's like,
they're just gonna let me. They're just gonna let me have it. And you know, after that quite of a rattle play, we're gonna see if they'll be able to maybe somehow reevaluate it going into this fourth map.
Well, that's it. The series is over.
Yeah, seriously. And as we'll go ahead and take a quick break here before we reach our fourth and final map. Welcome back, everybody, from quite a shocking finish that we just saw on Hanamura.
Spicy.
That we are still, yes, spicy to say the least right now. Like, on the gauge of spicy, it's like over 9,000. But
Yeah,
seriously,
absolutely.
we just saw the back cap, as now we're going to transition into Dorado right now. And I gotta say, the morale is high for T1W, and we're gonna see if Lingan is able to really try and somehow boost their morale right now after that last unfortunate loss there.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if all the guys from T1W, if they are in a team house or it's far away, they're really getting into the Dorado spirit. They got sombreros on, they got the maracas going. They're having a good time right now. I mean, and why wouldn't you? Silver's just like, I'll touch the point, and you know we'll just take this. Well, thank you very much. Like, it looked like you could have hold, but your percentage means nothing anymore because the percentage on the point is now 33.3%. But still, LG are trying to force this engagement between the two DPS as they move over to Dorado here. Obviously, T1W have to follow suit. It's very difficult to play the GOATS composition on this map. There are so many long sight lines, so many small engagements you have to go for. Here we go. That's the meme view. I love that one when you got the gun as well as the scope going as well as.
Shwaby looking for that shot onto the Pharah, but coming up short, not able to get that pick. That would have been extremely great for Lingan to get that right off the bat, but not able to as they do try and transition into the back line, still using that long sight lines, as you said, to maybe get some early pick damage here. But, you know, the momentum is still staying strong here on this payload, hoping to maybe go under this underpass here with some easy pressure.
Yeah, Kami actually can do a lot of work on this Genji right now because there isn't a Brigitte on T1W. The only problem is that Molanran might not be receiving as much help as he might like because he does not have a Mercy. Probably will have the Orb of Harmony pocket should he need it. There isn't really anyone to contest him slowly because if Shwaby does find a shot, more than likely Molanran's going to die eventually, right?
You see that play by Dudu in the back on the Winston, getting a little bit out of position, needing to be careful to not be overwhelmed by the damage as they will get the DMAC onto Duck right now. Not in their favor as they do get the follow-up, but now both supports, you are correct, taking them out in the back line, doing a great job as we saw the harass early, thought he was going to not gain as much out of it, but does quite a bit with, oh goodness me, still trying to contest against it. Yes, it will be Molly getting that pick as well, and you know, LGE doing a really great job here.
Oh, that's a Farah. Yeah, that's a bird of prey. Let me get out of there real quick. I don't want anything to do with that. I think they might try contest this. 0.29, they're still going.
And they will lead with that Winston play on Silver 3, having that aggressive push with the nano boost, and that's going to be, unfortunately, yeah, Mullen Rand taking himself out, unfortunately, as it looks like it's still going to be in favor of T1W. They do have the even 5 versus 5 right now. Primal Rage going to be forcing the self-destructive on the payload, trying to get it again with the now self-destructive tucked away in the corner, but still getting Wuya taking down the support. Payload, again, still in that 0.2 meter position, as they are just going to brawl this out and try and stall it as long as possible here.
Yeah, they seem to be going pretty well. They do get the D-Mech right now, so now it will just be Cammy on this Genji, but Molly on there, they got to be careful not to move off the point too much. Silver going back in, but it will be just him and the Ana, and he's getting LOS right now, so they have another nano boost, surprisingly. This is a really long stall.
Now to 0.1 meters, finally reaching it, having 4 minutes to go as we are going to transition into this next portion of the payload push. And Lingan now having 2 ultimates going into this, as you're going to see T1W try and generate at least one, as they have also a switch here now onto the Lucio.
Yeah, so they have the Lucio now, so they go with a disengage potential. They also have something to get away from the Genji should he drop out the Dragon Blade, so they can at least attempt to boop him back and get the speed boost to move him away from the Dragon Blade, but there is no real supportive ultimate online for them, so they can't actually contest on this first corner because Cammy just pulls the blade and it's pretty much GG there on out. If he does well, that is. He does have a Transcendence to escort him, and nothing on T1W really can... I get nothing really on T1W needs a Transcendence to counter it, so they can use the Transcendence quite aggressively.
They also have that brigade pick. Here's the blade, seeing if they can get a few picks. Needing to be careful not to get bashed, but does get the pick before it comes out. Able to get 2, looking for the 3rd. Managed to get it with a dash reset as the pressure still continues with this payload. Gonna move pretty flawlessly right now, just around this courthouse.
Yeah, and Cammy not doing too badly there. Like I said, nothing on T1W really needs to be countered by the Transcendence, so they just escort the Dragon Blade in with it, make sure he's got all the healing he needs. It's like Pseudo when you get a Mercy with Valks and they just escort the blade in, you give the damage and the healing, except you use a Transcendence instead to do it. Seems kind of overkill.
Self-destruct now in the back, high ground position. Interesting position. Not really too sure if they wanted to throw it in that direction, as the Transcendence now is going to come out. Yes, by T1W here. Wuya getting that assistance to try and help the damage that could be coming from Lingan, but not really being able to find too much. Now in the back line, starting to stagger just slightly. You see T1W claiming dominance, forcing LGE back, and they're going to have to most likely just kind of give up this fight and regroup.
I'm actually not gonna lie, I really do like Cammy's Genji at the moment. We do see Molaran, he has made the switch off over to the Brigitte now to kind of counter that out. You do get the shield bash in as he drops the Dragon Blade down, so most likely what he'll be doing most of the time is just escorting the Lucio and the Zenyatta about, basically been the bodyguard. But Discord on the Silver right now, he has to get the hell out of dodge.
Kami getting very aggressive, trying to generate that Black Dragon Blade, manages to get the kill onto Silver 3 with those shurikens in the back, and just holding on to that Dragon Blade because they are not going to need it. Dudu getting the Primal Rage kill onto both supports. Full team kill here, looks like, as they're going to just continue to pressure forward. The dominance coming out very, very much right now by Lingan.
Yeah, I mean, T1W, Assassin at least, isn't really doing too much on this Widowmaker right now. He's not finding heads, he's not clicking them either. So really, so far, Lingan Esports just having a really good time, and Shwabi is relatively uncontested, so he gets the body shots through, and Cammy's very happy to clean up.
Moving forward to try and contest. They have the Winston play by Silver 3, but they will actually get a nice pick early on. Having the Dragon Blade still held in his back pocket, waiting to find that opportunity. You see 2 members already going to get picked off here by LGE, as they're going to want to just fall back. Kami holding onto the blade, since they do still have 2.5 minutes. They have a decent amount of time here to push.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. Now, Shwabi makes a switch over the Brigitte, leaving Cammy on the Genji with the Dragon Blade. He's probably going to make a switch off pretty sharpish, right? Because you continue to play Genji with the Winston and the Brigitte, you're going to kind of have a bad time, especially on point C here.
Now trying to transition once again towards the payload, waiting to see how they want to engage this high ground for T1W still, with the Brigitte and the D.Va maintaining that position. Getting some damage overhead, now having that Dragon Blade be unleashed in the back, but I believe it will be beautiful barrier, keeping so many members of the team going with that Dragon Blade to nullify it, as it will be Wuya also using it, but self-destruct by Duck, at least gaining some value. Still having one of their own Hy-Vee on the side of T1W, trying to retreat back to that high ground, getting some contest against Duck, but another sound barrier coming out on LGE, able to sustain the incoming damage, tucking that self-destruct in the corner, just see if they can maybe get a pick through the doorway, but not really going to gain still anything out of it. Starting to fall back, Rally going to be activated as well from both sides right now to give some protection to stay in this fight, and Assassin now getting the triple coming out of nowhere. Unbelievable, turning it around. For once we were saying Assassin's not doing too much, but right, they're finally getting the sightlines on those heads and definitely clicking.
It's like, please don't sub me out. I promise I am doing stuff. Come on. Like, I mean, it's good. It's good though. Point C. It's a much harder time of the. It's the much harder place for it to pop off on the Widowmaker because the sightlines are really, really short. The angles are a little bit iffy here and there. Now the T1W, they make the full switch over this Zarya Winston combination. Assassin making that switch after he has used the infra sight. Obviously, I makes a switch of the Reinhardt. So again, we're having this similar composition we saw on Control Tower in here, where technically the Winston should get counted out by the Reinhardt. I think the T1W just have the number of Lingan Esports at this point.
And they have the Primal Rage activated early by Silver 3 in the back, continuing to contest against them, trying to just knock this team around. And again, that Reinhardt looking to just take so much damage on the front, getting separated away from the rest of LGE, and just really, again, taking so much damage. And they're now at 30 seconds remaining.
Well, this is unfortunate. It's getting pushed back to their own spawn. I think the major pick-off there to be wary of is the one with Zarya. She thought she was going to get out. Again, Lungter not speeding her out properly. I think probably did use a speed boost early, so it's not completely on him, right? You should have the Brigitte bashing that Winston away nice and early. But it means that a lot of that charge is lost by Reinhardt, I guess.
And Rally now going to be forced on the side of T1, able to try and see if they can contest against it, buying into overtime, but not going to get close enough. Oh, goodness, that is finally getting back. One member remaining on the point so far in advance, as they are going to clean house right now and hold them from moving this payload any further.
Well, that's unfortunate, to say the least. I think what happens is T1W is like, I guess we could play goats again. That worked out for us pretty well for the rest of the series, so we just go back over that maybe. And Assassin's like, yeah, I'll just get a triple kill and I'll switch, okay? I'll promise that I am a good Widowmaker at the end of the day.
Guys, I just want to display my hit scan ability and go back to goats.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I can play hit scan still, okay? Just confirming, I do have the certificate. It's right here, I have signed it. But now going over to back again to point A, T1W, they're gonna try it out again. You're not going to do that. Don't even hover it. Just don't even debate me like that, okay? Please. LG, they're going to put Cammy back on the Genji. And I think that's a smart choice. Cammy did have a lot of impact on this Genji beforehand. Surprisingly, Silver just getting taken down by the shurikens over and over, looking like a porcupine by the end of it.
I mean, it's been an interesting play coming out by Kami. Multiple times we saw the display of that Genji player, and even just the projectile accuracy coming out, generating those ultimates very quickly. Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's great play overall, and just leading of the target. As it looks like, you know, T1W here is gonna just get that nice little fake play with the Torbjorn. They like to just show that portrait here on the attacking side as we do maneuver forward. But
it'd
again,
be nice.
It would be nice. But they're gonna go ahead now on LGE and keeping, you know, that Orisa play, which they're gonna try and use on this high ground.
Yeah, and a lot of this Orisa comes down to having a very consistent shield that stays up a lot of time, which is probably going to force Mola and either to switch over to a Hanzo or over to a... Wow, actually, no, I really like this pick. You can pick the Trace here because there is no Brigitte. Spawn point so far away, so the defensive team cannot make this switch nice and early. So if they can have a clean fight and Assassin can get into position, which looks like he is going to go for right now, this could be nice and clean.
It's interesting for the positioning, trying to get enough time here to get that flanking position to contest potentially against Schwaby. But yeah, Mullen Ren just using so many different characters.
Way, please.
Oh, so close of getting picked off, trying to survive in the back, finally getting that health pack to keep it going. As you're going to now see Silver 3 jumping into the back line and contesting against these supports. But Schwaby finding Assassin quickly to shut them down, as it's still even exchanges right now with 3 minutes and 15 seconds to go.
Yeah, it's really hard. Like there's no Lucio on the side of LGE, so it's pretty much just easy peasy for Molenran right now because you cannot boop him back. You cannot get him away from your Ana. The Ana just dies every single time. Cammy's doing his best right now, but versus a good Tracer, it's difficult to play against that. So if Lingan Esports don't make the switch over to a Brigitte soon, they're going to continue to have a bad time from point B.
And that pulse bomb was developed so lightning fast. You're holding on to it to find that opportunity as the ults are now starting to stack up. And you see the reposition here by T1W going onto that high ground with a few members gonna hopefully try and find Ligan with maybe their pants down here, just waiting to see how they want to engage this.
Oh, this is proper cheeky, but Cammy goes in early with the dash, and Shwaby following with him to Molan Ran. That must have been one hell of a shot. I'm sad we didn't get to see that.
Kami now getting a nice dash into the back line. Maybe use the Dragon Blade? No, the damage is done. Gonna hold on to that and keep it before they actually find the opportunity to use it on many more targets.
Yeah, I'm just super impressed by Cammy so far. I love his Genji. And I think it's been elevated even further now that Lancers make the switch over to Lucio, understands that they need that repositioning tool on the team right now. But it means that Cammy can get further and further in, and those dashes just get nice and closer. Shwaby did win the last duel with Molan before, if we do remember. So Molan was like, maybe I don't want to take this trade. It's just like a Brigitte with an Widowmaker's body.
And they're going to get that infra sight now to give some vision on where their positioning is. The payload's trying to turn the corner here. Consistent pressure by the Tracer. And again, no Brigitte to shut it down. With now the Transcend is going to be forced out. That's a nice ultimate to be forced out from the back line. Doing the job well with that Tracer play as they're going to hopefully still continue this momentum. Again, 4 minutes still remaining. A lot of time and still not committing to that Dragon Blade just yet.
But there's still nothing to escort him in, right? Like, he needs full attention from the D.Va and the Winston to make sure he can do it. But they will be forced back for the time.
4 minutes just under it now, starting to wait to see how they're going to engage this. You see Assassin and Silver 3 having to look for the regroup on the attacking side, but still a lot of harass coming out by Molan Ren all alone, but does get taken out by Molly. Oh, goodness me.
That's a nice kick to the head, right? We're playing a fighting game now. We're no longer playing Overwatch. But Shwaby, I've been pretty happy with this DPS combo on LG. It looks like they're much more comfortable come DPS, and now they're forcing T1W to play to their tune because they can't force a GOATS composition here because Lingan Esports, their team is so mobile. Whenever they do make the dive, Lingan Esports is going to switch to somewhere else, and Shwaby's just been consistently winning these Widow duels.
On the high ground still, maybe gonna find the opportunity again, needing the assistance before the Dragon Blade as they do try to have the encounter on the low ground, seeing if they can drop below, having that sound barrier coming out by Illusion, giving some protection, and now they're such in a tight clustered position, maybe gonna get value out of this blade, does get one, wants the dash reset here to hopefully get the D-Mac, but manages to escape, but still too much damage has already been done here. Lingan able to try and pressure forward as they do have a reset coming out by T1W.
I just don't think... I think T1W have just been scrimming GOATS non-stop, this free composition that they have been playing all series. And it looks like they've kind of just forgotten how to play DPS, which is unfortunate to say the least. I think Molan Ran looked really good on the Pharah, to be fair, and Assassin good on the Mei, but now you move over to these two, like, they're very highly mechanically based heroes. They're having a tough time versus Lingan Esports. Seems to just be looking much more comfortable here.
And Assassin's trying to find some silence, but having a really difficult time in this position, trying to get that high ground, trying to get the low ground shots onto the high ground as they transition forward. Hy-Vee having self-destruct by T1W, maybe gonna try and tuck it around the corner here potentially as they want to secure this next checkpoint, but it will be the Transcend coming out again by not only Molly, but Wuya as well. Self-destruct with now another Dragon Blade coming out by Kami, trying to get the follow, but Molly with the kick to the face, shutting it down mid-slash as they still are doing a decent job here on the side of LGE. Starting to now go in favor of T1W though, looking to get the picks. Assassin also getting that follow-up here onto Dudu, not going to, and the kill onto Shwaby at the end of it, looking to get some redemption here from earlier as they want to follow now onto Mini D.Va.
I think slowly but surely they have coming out, and I think the main problem so far has been that their target selection has been completely denied because you can't actually get in there when they're playing so sparse like that, and I think that is something that T1W had perfected when they were playing this free composition. And when you play as a clump, their target selection has been great. Now the Lingan Esports have been playing a little bit more sparse right now. T1W almost struggling to find a target they want to dive onto. You see Silver go in, and then the kill feed comes up pretty much afterwards with Molan Ran finding the picks after. So I think there's just a bit of miscommunication going on right now when it comes to dive, whereas when you play GOATS, as long as everyone knows what they're doing, that synergy is just founded pretty much almost immediately. 2 minutes 20, you still have a lot of time to make it those few meters round to the golden box of victory.
Molan Ran able to get get that early pick onto Kami. Nice pick, making it a 6 versus 5 in favor of T1W on the attack. Transcendence also now going to be forced out by Molly. Pulse Bomb might just land, managing to do so as they are just meters away here to try and claim this victory to make it a 4-0 as a whole. Self-destruct going to try and zone away Illusion, managing to get the pick. Kami now getting the Dragon Blade, starting to force back one in the D-Mech. That would be great for them to get on this defensive side to try and cause some pressure as they now only have a minute and 50 seconds left to go.
They do pretty much pop everything here right now. We are going to get a nice little replay on this these couple of shots coming out from Assassin. Even the observers are like, look, Assassin can play Widowmaker. Look, we replay it for you, I promise.
There's some hits can't play. We know it's real. It's
Yeah, we know it's there. Yeah, Assassin makes a switch over the hands on now, a bit more projectile. Mullenrun knows he has to go over this Brigitte again. They can't beat them at their own game, so they have to change things up.
Minute 20, still a little bit of time for them to get back into this. Silver 3 gonna have the ultimate as well as Hy-Vee with the self-destruct going to actually drop it now in the back, trying to gain something out of it, but the sound barrier is there by LGE to give some support, but Molly's gonna go down. Not gonna have that Transcendence, which they were so close to gaining. He's gonna unleash that rally. Still a lot of pressure though coming in by Silver 3 with that Primal Rage, finally dropping it off as the pressure is gonna still maneuver forward as they are just about to get it, completely dominating them on this point, buying as much time getting back in the mech though. Might have some opportunity to hold it for a moment longer since they're not too far away from the spawn location, as they do have 2 ultimates though on favor of T1W. The rest of the team now coming in, Lingan able to try and force it back, but Silver 3 gaining the D-Mech and the follow-up as the sound barrier. Yes, indeed, they are not going to be able to do it. At this point, they're just stalling it out once again.
And the Transcendence to finish, please. Well, yeah. Why have you not done that? Oh, well, I mean, it's tough, right? It's real tough for Lingan Esports. Once you get around that corner, you have both supportive ultimates available. It's just a matter of time before you lose that one. And I think once they made those switches up, because it does look like that T1W a little bit rocky when it comes to these DPS. It's odd almost, so to speak. So they change it up. They go onto the Hanzo for that extra shield break opportunity, and they have Molaran back over the Brigitte, who I think was playing fantastically on the Brigitte before. So it's strange to me that they would try and switch that up. But I guess it is the end, right, of the series, so you can play what you want anyway. But one thing that I just want to quickly note before we do throw this one back over the desk is Lungsa on that Lucio, right? The sound barrier is much more effective there. Looks like he really brought up his game just a little bit too late in the series.
Agreed. And, you know, Mullenrun just doing so well on so many different characters. We're going to go ahead and let the desk take it even further to see how we just had T1W claim 4-0 against LGE.
Thank you so much, Blank and Richard. And yeah, as Rich just said, it was a big fat 4 Overwatch to T1W. Guys, I want to start by talking about Hanamura because it looked like Winston were just... Lingan? Winston, yeah, sure. It looked like Lingan were just a little bit like one step behind, especially once T1W brought out Mei on their defense. You know, what went on here?
So really, when you bring Mei out on these kind of compositions, you bring it out really on Hanamura B specifically, especially when you're going up against something like Goats and like Deathball compositions. Once the dive comes in, you split the rest of the team away, and it's basically a 3v6 at that point with the rest of the team behind the wall. So that's really what the idea was, and unfortunately for the side of Lingan Esports, they kind of just they tried to rotate every time, you know, move around, but then there's like Molaran who's just sitting there on fair, has Barrage waiting for you every single time. The rotations just were not there from the side of Lingan, and then the C9, I mean, I'm going to call a spade here. The C9 happened, and that was really the worst part of that.
Do you think Lingan were maybe just a little bit overwhelmed when they were doing their own defense? Because as you say, T1W kind of just walked onto the point at the end and managed to take it straight away from them.
Yeah, I think it's actually one of those things where you're so worried about Sombra backcapping that you might actually overcompensate for it. Because at the end of the kind of I think the replay, we did see exactly what happened, where Silver 3 kind of just wandered onto point with Mullenrun kind of tagging along initially, and then you see Mullenrun hit the EMP, and from that point onwards, I think that really does send the fight into a lot of disarray, where a lot of people are kind of trying to scramble back, not to die to the EMP, and by that time, you know, everyone just finally notices that, hey, there's someone on point capturing it. So I think it's a lot of that. I think it's a lot of communication issues. I think especially having, you know, lost, like, I mean, going down 0-2 at the half is definitely a big, you know, pressure point for the side of Lingan, with they're now in map 3 saying, you know, we have to hold this. It's May's been super complicated. They only have to get one tick given the amount of time they have. It's a lot of panic that sets in. I think from there it's very easy to lose the match.
I have to ask, and I don't know how accurate the answer is going to be, but if you had to predict, how many barrages do you think Milan Run actually got on Farah on Hanamura?
So there's like I want to say there was like 5 or 6 or 7 fights somewhere around there, and I think that he had one for basically every single fight. So I'd say around probably like 5 or 6 if I had to guess.
That is absolutely nutty. Well, I want to move on to Dorado now because I've actually don't know if I've ever heard two analysts get so excited about a game like while watching it together, especially on that last point right at the end. We saw so many DPS switches. What did you think about a lot of these different compositions that were coming out? Because it was just like constantly changing.
I think there's a lot of adaptation on the side of T1W to kind of find that good sweet spot. I would obviously like to praise Lingan because I think Lingan, after realizing that 3-3 was not really compatible, they just weren't winning the tank duels. I think switching Kami over to that Genji and allowing Shirabi to kind of find his footing, whether or not be on Widowmaker against Assassin, I think that's really where they started flourishing because Kami. I mean, this is a story about strong Chinese Genjis in general, right? Strong Chinese Genjis are kind of this weird type where even if the meta never favors them, they're still willing to use that blade. They're still willing to, try to play a little bit distance. And I think that he definitely got a lot of big pop-ups. That triple kill initially with that first blade, definitely a huge statement, especially given the composition they were playing against. But I think that's just kind of like finding footing and trying to find a good placement for everyone because Assassin right now actually seems like the odd man out here because Mija has been showing a lot of great, strength on Zarya, but it doesn't feel like Assassin quite has that kind of like meta pick yet. So I think they're trying to figure out ways to work him back into the lineup, seeing if he can ramp up his hit scan for the next patch.
Yeah, I don't think it even necessarily just comes down to like the meta pick thing because one thing that you both were mentioning a lot of was the questionable positioning that Assassin was using.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't my favorite play on Widow from Assassin. Like there were times where he was just like, just sitting in courthouse, really not getting any sightlines on the enemy team. Then he would move over to the courtyard on the opposite side, and he's just trying to get these very narrow and micro angles that really you need to be a, Pine or someone Carpe level of Widowmaker to be doing. And no offense to Assassin, but those are players who are on like the top echelon of Widowmaker. You need to find some easier sightlines for yourself and not put yourself in positions where you're, easily dove on because they're like the Winston from Lingan would just dive onto him continuously. He was dying first in a lot of these fights. And when they switched over to, Hanzo, he had a lot more survivability. You have that air dash that you can just get around, the wall climb as well. And you have that E. So if someone like IDDO is diving onto you, you can just blow him up.
I mean, Scribe, you were saying how, you quite liked Kami on the Genji. It was more of a, I don't want to necessarily say a comfort pick, but something that he was a little bit more comfortable with playing. Do you think maybe that you would have liked to see something like this come out in the previous maps? Or do you think it was more because Dorado isn't necessarily as known for its tank-heavy compositions that we were able to even see this in the first place?
I think it definitely has to do with the fact that Dorado is not super strong for tanks, especially on that second point where we definitely saw a lot more of the Genji really come into play. With high ground, it's really hard for triple tank to kind of take that advantage. And high ground, I think universally is a great way to kind of get that advantage over, where you can kind of start chipping down shields, win the fights before they're able to get underneath that initial bridge. So I think that's kind of really why Kami made the switch over. Of course, I would love to see them play other styles because this is kind of the weird dynamic where Group B, we see a lot more of this willingness to play non-traditional compositions, non-3-3 compositions. So I think that I would like to see them kind of push that envelope more, try to like test and see like what really works against goats, because I think that's the stuff a lot of teams, I think every team in every region is trying to find out right now. How do we avoid playing this 3-3 composition if we don't have the structure for it?
Guys, what do you think the future looks like for these two teams going into the final 2 weeks of Contenders?
So I think T1W, as of right now, we still have to see Team CC play. I think T1W, is firmly cemented for me, especially after this test, as being the best team in the region. Just by the way they played, the way that they can now play goats as well, which is something we never thought they could do. Adding that to their toolkit, putting Micha on the Zarya, having this, new addition to their lineup is pretty huge, especially for a team like Team CC, who is probably that second team who can play tanks. If they can go 1v1 on them with tanks, that's absolutely huge for them. For Lingan, I think it's another playoff season. I hope it's not another playoff season where they just go to quarterfinals and lose, because in the past 2 seasons, they've only won one map throughout their entire quarterfinals stay.
Yeah, I would second that. I don't think it changes that much. I think T1W, I wouldn't put them at number one just yet because I think that CC matchup is going to be very telling for them. I think even now, I don't think they've really been tested hardcore. This kind of seems like a very big trend from last season where the only team they lost to was LSE. And it's at that point, it's kind of like, well, it could be more of the same where they have that one kryptonite. I don't exactly like how shaky Assassin has kind of looked on his champion since he's supposed to be the Widow expert, he's supposed to be the Widow specialist. I would like to see him dominate a little more against Shrivi, but besides that, I think they found like, really two great replacements for Crystal, and I think looking at that moving forward, definitely a lot to be hopeful for.
Well, it sounds like we don't want to be too far ahead of ourselves with T1W and a bit like LG, forever the bridesmaid, never the bride. But we'll have to wait until next week to see how they do going forward into Contenders. We're going to throw to a short break quickly before we come back for our second game of the day, which will be LGD versus Alter Ego. I'll see you then.